And how do we make sure that this exercise, this really simple exercise, is done twice a year so that we can always think about if and when economy shifts, what are our options to make adjustments quickly? Are we are we using providers in roles that will create slow transition when we need fast? And therefore, do we need to change up our commercial model or our supplier management, our supplier strategy, or our work strategy to get stuff done?
I, I would naturally assume that for C-suite executives, that's something they can buy into. You know, organizational maneuverability, flexibility, being able to react in the market. How difficult has that been in those situations to really kind of sell that into organizations at that executive level?
You know, what we're really talking about here is talking to an operations officer. And I think it's still a little difficult. The best projects where we've been able to have greatest success is, for one, when the operating leaders are involved and are in the room. Where projects like this have tended to fall short has been when we start in procurement or HR and we don't get participation for whatever reason,
Interesting.
lack of awareness or lack of willingness to participate, or sometimes fear in politics to get operations to participate from the beginning. Because if you think about it, operations needs to get stuff done,
Hmm.
right? Don't give me all the rules. Just tell me, but also fix my problem, but don't shut down my plant.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, in order to do that, I need to work with you to understand what your issues are, how you use work, what it is that you do, et cetera. And when we have these center-led service functions, procurement and HR, um, not regularly engaging with essentially their internal customer, that voice of the customer is lost, and structure is not well implemented nor well adopted, in some part because the fit isn't there. Um, but also there may be a fit issue, but you may have a really great tool that serves that team to make better business decisions, and they're not having it in their hands. So I think about and then I think about the projects where operations has been involved from the beginning. In some cases, it was because there was recognition from the operations team that they had a challenge,
Right.
right? Right.
Yeah.
So I would encourage the listeners on this call from procurement and HR is to engage with your customers, bring operations to the table at the beginning. It's never too early to bring in your end user customer.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point. One of our customers always tells a great story about, you know, basically engaging with us and engaging with an intermediary. So they basically kind of, semi outsource the problem. We were the enabling technology for this intermediary to help them sort out their services procurement. And one of the crucial things that they did, the key stakeholder, it was absolutely, a given from the start was he basically had what he called his tiger team, which
Yeah.
was effectively almost like the most dissenting, pedantic people from
Yeah.
operations
Yeah.
that were likely to put up the objections to go, why are we even doing this? What's this? Don't get in my way. What's this going to do
Hmm.
to help me get my job done? I'm trying to make the business successful here. And engaging those team members at the very beginning was massively important in getting the fantastic levels of adoption that they've achieved, exactly as you say, because not only was it that engagement, but the solution was crafted more effectively in the first
Yep.
place. And that
Yep.
comes back really to your life cycle point, because
Yep.
that's where you're fully engaging with the life cycle and not just an individual linear process.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And we were talking about, like, when you're engaged with the life cycle, you're engaging with process owners, but those process owners are interacting with an internal customer base that is also very diverse as well.
Mm.
So those end users who want a good user experience or who want good service quality all have are likely going to have different desires, different expectations of whatever solution or whatever governance structure that's coming out, right? So that's another critical thing to think about. Um, and shoot, I should have written this down, Johnny. I was going to say another point, but nonetheless, know your end user. Oh yeah.
Right.
So here's the
Okay.
thing. When we think about this tees up that change management, right?
Yeah.
What's the statistic? I remember when I was at EY, there was this a statistic that said 70% of major transformations fail due to poor change management. And change management is not communications. It's not another project plan. Yeah. It starts with bringing your end users in from the very beginning and getting the voice of the customer. And yeah, I think it is a hard but good strategy to bring in the biggest naysayer at the start. But what that's also going to do is it's going to help you identify when you say, all right, we know who we're talking about from a what do we mean by that perspective? We know what it is we do and who we interact with and where there are gaps perspective. And we know who we interact. So when we know who we interact with, we have an inventory of stakeholders. Now we understand their problem and what to do about it. We can also start to figure out who needs to be aware of the change versus who needs to adopt change. And the adoption population is the group that needs a lot more time and effort, probably a lot more participation than the group that's going to get communicated to, because they just need to be aware. But the adopters are the ones who have to be involved and quite frankly, like co-solutioning or at least
Yeah.
providing their input along the way, making sure that their work is not getting slowed down. Nobody wants another process control that's just going to delay getting work done. That's not the purpose.
Yeah. And they could be coming from a position where before this is all streamlined and made beautiful, they've got two options. They can follow the process,
Yep.
which is probably going to be really time consuming, slow, horrible, semi manual,
Hmm.
just a nightmare, which is slowing them down and stopping them doing the work and making their life miserable, and probably doing the same to people in procurement and possibly HR as well. Or they can just ignore all of it and just go
Yep.
completely off piste and just do what they want to do and just get on with it and hope that nobody kind of shines a light on it. But
Yeah.
I think when it comes down to it, most people within most organizations, most professionals do care about things like is a good job being done,
Hmm.
um, is what my organization's paying for worth the money it's paying. I think most people do care about wasting organizational money. They want their organization to be successful because that helps them be successful.
Yeah.
They keep their job, they get promoted. So I think because this is something that we care about in our own lives and our personal lives, we look at what we buy. Is it good? What's the rating? How many stars has that got? How many people have recommended it? Do I
Yeah.
like it? How much did I pay for it? All these things. Did it do what it said it was going to do? If they can be brought into that as a concept early
Hmm.
on, given the ability through the way that the program operates, the life cycle operates, and that definitely is an area where insights and data and the sort of feedback mechanisms that can come from the correct processes, the correct use of technology, etc. I think people have the opportunity to really buy into that from an organizational perspective, and it's because sometimes you get this slightly jaded view that procurement might just think the buyers just don't care. They're just like, I just need to get that. I just need to get my job done. I just need to get
Yep.
this work done. But I think there is definitely the capacity in most professionals, the vast majority of professionals, to want to take a pride in the fact that it was a really good piece of work. They did a great job. I don't want to be having to mess around with everything changing or not knowing what the rules are. But people want to do a good job.
Yeah.
And as I say, they want to make their organization successful.